minute. Live. All right, that event's there. Boom, and we're live. So first step we're going to do is we're going to go out with that, and then we're going to go. Welcome to the Everyday Sniper. You got Frank from Snipers Hide, and I'm online right now. We're live as well. Uh-oh. Getting that feedback loop. Where's the mute? I need to find that mute again. How about that? Boom, that did it.
All right.
I think. So anyway, that sounds better. I'm gonna let's make sure I'm not. I want to make sure I'm not getting that double signal through. There's always a button that I have to hit. I'm gonna end this really quick, and then I'm gonna restart that guy over. Yeah, we seem to be good now. We're on and we're up and line. All right, so let's try part 2. Let's go with the Everyday Sniper part 2. All right, so here we go. Welcome to the Everyday Sniper. You got Frank from Snipers Hood, and we're live on the site right now, as well as doing the Everyday Sniper podcast for you guys. I'm hearing you through. Anyway, so Chris, how's it going?
Good.
Yeah,
Good.
Yeah, what are you up to?
We're crushing life here.
We really are. So it's been other than weather-wise, we've had terrible.
It'll be sunny for like 2 or 3 hours and then rain.
Yeah.
And then sunny and then snow and then rain again and then freaking 50-mile-an-hour winds.
Right. Totally. And then you can't catch a break. I made it out to the range for like 30 seconds. I was able to film, and it's like the weather was all around us. In fact, I think like it was like in the middle of the night before going to bed, it was snowing.
Yeah.
We came out and we had total snow this week. So it's been snowing on us for who knows how many days now. We're still like, I don't think we get normal weather till Monday.
Yeah, it's nuts.
But all right, let's jump into this guy. We are live on the Sniper's Hide forum. I will get in and clean this guy's up for you all, but it takes me about a minute to figure out what buttons I'm hitting and where we're supposed to be with all this. No big deal. But Chris and I wanted to talk about, I just put a video out, so I want to add a video in really quick. So I'm going to add a video in, and you guys on the site. So here we go. I'm going to pick a video. So here's this video, add it in. Add that to the scene. Now let's see. Add to scene. There it goes. Oh, nice. So let's play it now. So
sick. And then we can watch it and talk
about it. Ooh. See, guys, we're just playing really, but I think this is going to be cool. Mm-hmm. So this is the ability. What I did is I did a bullet point, sort of a training video. I'm going to preface it and explain. And in the bullet point training video, we're going to talk about a topic. At that point, I'm now going to play this video through the live, and then Chris and I will talk about it. So if you are on the Sniper's Hide app, and actually I'm going to pull the app up because I want to see what it looks like too, because this is all new. You got to kind of give me a little bit of a break because I'm trying to like figure out like what I'm doing here. But this is totally new, and I'm as interested as you are as to how that. Oh, look at that! I think that's going to be super cool.
Yeah.
We're like picture in pictured, and it's coming up. So that's totally what we want. So Chris, you haven't really seen this video, so you'll have to kind of watch it a little bit. But what I'm talking about in the whole thing is mounting your scope low. So here's a 3-minute video talking about mounting your scope. When you're setting up your rifle, think of your car: seats, mirrors, steering wheel. Set the rifle up for the type of optic you're using, the rifle system, as well as the handguard system on it, whether it has one or not, and then the stock, the adjustability you have in the cheek to properly get your head aligned behind the optic. We want our head straight up and not rolled over, so make sure we get this scope high enough to allow that to happen. So cool. Yeah, the only thing I thought was happening while I thought there was a feedback loop going on. Hey, welcome to a Sniper Side Bullet Point episode. In this video, I want to talk about stocks and mounting your scope. We read all the time about mounting your scope as low as possible. Got to mount the scope low, got to get low. Everything talks about going low. Well, we want to go into our historical and talk about what they meant by mounting the scope low and why they did that. If we go back in time and we look at sort of a hunting style stock, we had iron sights, right? So the iron sights sat right on the action and on the barrel, so we had a really low, no mechanical offset. So the sights and the barrel were together. Our stock, the comb of the stock right here, is below the rail. And why was that? Because we were hunting. We would bring it up in a standing position like this and bring the rifle to us. So because this stock is lower, we have to get this down, and we want to make sure that we're down low like that. So they got their rifle low. Same thing in the context of hunting, point of aim, point of impact, like the iron sights. They wanted to replicate iron sights because the mechanical offset of mounting the scope high has some compromises that we're going to talk about. So now let's go to today and look at a more modern rifle with a chassis system and the way the stocks are set up now. So here's an example of a modern rifle. We have a monolithic rail on the top with our handguard, so it goes straight across. We don't have it where it goes from the action rail down to the barrel and drops low. So we can't drop the bell of the scope down. We have a flat piece here. Then we have an adjustable cheek piece right here, which can be adjusted up or down. So this adjustability means we don't have to get as low. And why don't we want to get super low? Well, look at our ring cap here. So it looks like we got pretty decent clearance, almost a ½ inch on this guy. But if I rotate this ring cap down, it almost touches there and does touch right there. What we've seen is when someone has their scope like this and that ring cap under recoil and vibration, this will hit the top rail, will bend the scope tube. We've seen these get bent. No longer do we want to mount as low as possible. It rolls your head over, right? We're trying to get down in the prone and our scope is mounted low. Rolls your head. We want to keep our head straight and in line with that, which is why we want to pick everything up. Now the compromises we talked about is if you're going to be tilting the rifle or canting it, the higher you are with that mechanical offset, the bigger the issue is going to be. Also, you have to look at this mechanical offset for software. Software needs to know this distance, as well as if you're shooting inside 100 yards, you have to look at that. There's a lot of different things that go into where and how high we mount the scope, but nowadays you want to mount it higher than we did in the past because our rifles have changed. Thanks for watching. Enjoy. That guy, and there we go. So I just did the video and did the scene, so I think that kind of worked out pretty good. So boom.
Yeah.
Yeah, you
was
talk
good.
for a second because I have a guy bugging me on text, so talk for a minute. So let
Okay.
me answer him.
Yeah, I think that this topic comes up from time to time, and a lot of the discussions are cyclic. The idea of having really low rings and mounts, as well as other things that are low. The idea of high and low comes up, and Frank and I, before we decided to do this, we were talking about just the concept of high and low with all the gadgets that we use, but the idea that we're shooting precision long range stuff. So the idea of trying to get your scope as close to the barrel as possible, um, it's not as big of an important factor, and you can train yourself even at close ranges, to deal with higher height over bore. But what does tend to happen as you go lower is that space that your body has to attach to the rifle gets smaller and smaller and smaller, and we're trying to fit important parts of our body behind the scope because we don't have a choice, right? The Your eyeball has to be behind the scope, whether you like it or not. Something has to be holding the rifle, and then it has to connect to your body to a certain degree, depending on the system that you're shooting and the style that you're shooting. But nevertheless, typically the rifle touches something around here, right? This area. And the scope has to line up here. And these heights on most of us are relatively large, and yet we're trying to smash them into a smaller and smaller space. So we become contortionists. The problem is anatomically, we don't operate well in contorted positions. We operate well when our body is kind of anatomically neutral. And so giving yourself higher height over bore actually allows you to keep your neck straight. And like what Frank was saying in the video, if you roll your head and twist and try to scrunch up like this, imagine doing something else that you're familiar with, like run around your house
Or
with your
drive your
head
car
tilted.
like
Yeah.
that.
And look out the top of your eyes. You're not going to be optimized versus right, shoulders down, head up as best as possible. And so having those higher rings, you don't contort your body. It doesn't screw, like it screws with my eyeballs to look too high out of the top of my um, brow, and I can fit that rifle into here. And you, I think a lot of people would be surprised that a half inch difference in your ring height. So let's say people for a long time in precision rifle wanted 1 inch rings, 1 inch rings. That would put your scope really close, the bell really close to the barrel. Um, but putting inch and a half rings is a surprising amount of clearance for your body to relax and get neutral. And so all my rings are now inch and a half, some are even more. And I noticed that the comfort in my head and neck and the connection to my body is much more consistent when my body is comfortable. So the real issue here is looking at all the information that's available. And when you look back or you look through the internet, you can find an answer and a reason to justify all of those heights, which is kind of a pro and a con to the internet because you have access to all the answers, but not all the answers are going to work for you.
Right. Well, you have access to all the information,
Right.
whether or not it's an answer.
Right.
And there's actually a lot of things that are going on with our heads when we look at the ring height and what we're doing. Because if you think about it, the guys who mount their scopes too low and then roll their head over, what are they going to do? Naturally push the rifle over as well. So that's going to be where their cant comes from. So they're going to have like a Harris bipod with no pod lock on it. That's way too loose and out of square. And then they're going to push it over with their head.
They're going to pull it back.
Right. Well, on top of that, then they got to run the bolt. And what they're going to do is they're going to pull it over with the bolt. So you're pushing the rifle, you're pulling the rifle all to the right. And you're just like, I don't know. But if we get and create your position where your head's straight, where your head's natural, well, then everything in, like your brain, your 4 levels, all that stuff works correctly. If I roll my head over, the levels in my head are compromised. If I keep my head straight, then the levels in my head work the way they're supposed to.
Right. And all that equipment under recoil, that split second is not going to stay where it is. And I don't think it's a surprise that a lot of styles of shooting involve holding the rifle less and less when it comes to ultimate precision. I mean, you need to hold it, you need to connect, you need to manage recoil, but you don't want to muscle it and push it because that anchor system, I think that I see some of those inputs, I think inputs and outputs, but some of the LE guys that are training at the range where they jam their bipods in and they lean with all their body weight into a barricade and they're holding it like crazy. They're putting a lot of force in it, and then they're surprised at their point of impact shifts because of the torque on the barrel nut. And saying, well, okay, well, with this setup, you need to be mindful of these forces on the rifle. But if we're sitting there and we're forcing our body into this tiny, there's a contortionist in Boulder. You ever seen that guy with the tube?
No,
That
I
like
didn't know there was one.
there's like
I
this
try to avoid Boulder.
there's this he has this PVC tube, and it is not very big around. And dude can like put his feet in it and bend over and put his head like against his knees and slide this tube up over his body, and he can put himself in a box. And it's like, yeah, but like it's interesting, but that's not what we're doing with rifles, So, and then you think like, man, in these positions, we're unconsciously changing our point of impact because we're
Right.
forcing the round to go somewhere that it's not going to go, because you're trying to, you're trying to see, you're trying to push, you're trying to hold it. Oh man, I missed. Well, that's not a surprise.
I mean, if you think about it too, we got a ton like cold bores coming in. You guys describe you can actually sit up straight and run. Yes, totally. Sit up straight, run the gun comfortably. And that's where I go with the tripods, right? So if you take a tripod and you get yourself all in the right position and do everything right, you actually slide right into that tripod in a super comfortable way. Well, if we take a chainsaw and cut our body off from like, the chest up, I want to replicate that all the time. So I don't want to compromise from my chest up in any. We just up there it goes. It just came back, just came back, just came back. It came back. That was a quick
But
drop.
did we lose the?
Yeah, it'll come back.
Okay. Oh yeah, they lost it too. Audentio said.
Did they say we lost it?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay, yeah, we're back.
We're back.
Got it. Yep, we're back. Sorry.
Now, the caveat to that, though, is you get up and you're in position and you kind of slide into the rifle. There are times where you're going to need to shoot from this height or this height. And so being able to get your body in a position and know the forces and know the positions that you need to kind of adjust, right? Like,
Yeah.
well, Laura's a good example. She needs to shoot from here. She does this. And but that's different than
Right.
this.
Than her creating a
right. So, but that comes from with experimentation and knowing that if you do one, it could have a point of impact shift, but if you do the other, it doesn't. And you need to validate that for yourself. But first, it starts with this is comfortable. And if my guess is if you videoed yourself, you'd go, "What the hell am I doing when I'm trying to shoot like this?"
And that's what we try to show people is like filming. We get a lot of people that'll say, "Hey, can you take a still picture of me?" And I can pick apart a certain amount of a still, but I want to see the video because, like we've showed, we want to see that recoil and what your body does. Is the recoil like this, or is the recoil like this, or is the recoil moving around? What is happening with that kind of recoil system that we're looking at?
Yeah, I mean, we've been out at the range, and we'll be sitting there looking at somebody, and they're behind the rifle, and I'm watching something, and you're like, he's gonna miss to the left. He misses to the left. You're right, and it's like, okay, well, you're watching, and they're like, and, and those are the things that you might not feel, and you might not have that proprioception to know exactly yet, but shooting things like the craft drill or having somebody watch you or videoing yourself and knowing exactly where you're aiming and exactly where the round goes, and then saying, okay, it went left and I was pushing the rifle with my face and I was shoving it, or my bipod doesn't cant. So I had it propped up on one leg, and I moved a rock under the right part of the leg, but it makes a huge difference.
It really does. And it's those things we see because of our experience that the average shooter never sees, right? That guy never sees that stuff, and he can't feel it either because he doesn't know what he's supposed to feel. He doesn't know what he's supposed to be looking at. He's not sure how that's going to go. And yeah, so like for us, like Chris is saying, I'm 10 feet away from somebody and can see what they're doing and go, oh, that guy's going to miss from the left. And sure enough, that happens because my experience goes, I can see what he's doing. And that's the key and why we want to get you guys in this rifle setup position. I mean, really, this height, this ring is rifle setup. How high you do this is going to determine how that rifle feels underneath you,
Mhm.
right?
And there, if you, let's say, for example, you have a budget where you can't just swap out rings easily. Some rifles you can lower the comb and then lower you can adjust it so that there's other ways to deal with that offset. But one way or another, there's a height between your eyeball and the connection to your body that when that angle changes, if you if this is the height standing, as you go down, that distance gets shorter and shorter till you're prone. And so this height and this height could be significantly different, and that's going to have an effect on your ability to see through the rifle. And then the recoil management factor, prone versus standing, could be different if it's changing where it's stuck to your body, because if it's here and it recoils, it might tip up. And if it's here and I'm pushing, right, it might tip down. And that's the result of you trying to optimize that
Yeah.
height.
And with that, one of the examples, like a great example, is with the ASR with AI. They actually lowered the cheek because originally with the MC and the skeletonized stock with AI, you weren't able to get the cheek low enough. And
Mhm.
so you find with the modern chassis, those cheeks go really high and they don't necessarily go as low. So right there, you want that cheek to be in or your rings to be in a spot that matches your chassis system. Like there was a period with the AI, if you put like lower rings on, your cheek did not go low enough. I ran into that. I forget what I put a scope on my AT and ran into a spot the cheek didn't go low enough. I
Mhm.
had that happen with me.
And yeah, I have high cheeks, so some people have gotten on my rifles in the past and struggled with that to begin with, and it's not easy to just lower it on the fly. Now chassis are getting a little bit easier to modulate, but I think that that's room for improvement on the end of the chassis makers, because the rings, I don't know, you're not gonna have. I don't like the idea of adjusting that because it needs to be fixed, and unless but this one, I think the bigger the height, the less of a percentage difference it's going to be between standing and prone. And if it's lower, that's a much more extreme percentage difference in angle, right? You think about it with wind, right? The the 30 degrees from 3 o'clock to 2 o'clock is 90% change. And so if you got a small height, that 1 inch or whatever, like less than 2 inch height over bore, and you go from standing to prone, that's a pretty significant change in angle. Whereas if it's a higher one, anyway, you get what I'm saying. I think it makes a
Yeah,
big difference. The higher it
it
is, the
really
better.
does. I mean, it again, it's your car. If if you're at work and I basically tell your wife, hey man, I want you to go to your husband's work and don't tell him, but go move the seat of his car. Just a little, one notch. Move your seat one notch without telling you. You'll absolutely know. Mirrors too, right? If somebody hits a mirror, knocks a mirror out of the way, kids jump in the front seat, knock the rear view mirror out, you immediately know somebody touched your car.
Mhm.
Your rifle should be the same thing. And not everybody gets the amount of repetitions and the ability to use their rifle that much to feel it, but it's definitely there. It's every bit identical to our vehicles. You know, you're not going to be comfortable driving your car if you contorted the seats in a bad way.
Mhm.
You're going to complain. So if somebody mushes the seat up and you're at yourself, like Chris says, contorted, it's uncomfortable. You're not going to like it. But if somebody pulls the seat back, puts it there, and sets it up for you, it's a night and day feeling. Your car seat being proper versus your car seat not. Yeah.
And it has a profound effect on point of aim, point of impact. And man, I've shot thousands of rounds testing that. Like I'll put it really low, and I'll be looking through, and I'll shoot, and I'll do everything I can to be down, and I'll try different positions to see what does have an effect on my group and what doesn't. And some things do and some things don't. But when you contort your body weird, and you haven't verified and validated what has an effect and what doesn't, odds are when you do something weird, it's going to have an effect on your
Mm-hmm.
point of impact. And um and those effects you kind of have to see for yourself on paper.
Yeah, it's cause and effect, right? If you do this, then that will happen.
Hmm.
And that's basically what happens with us. If you do this, then that will happen.
Hmm.
And so
And
why? I mean, there's a reason for a lot of this. Unfortunately, the reasons get lost in the shuffle.
mhm,
So it's like, why did we do that? Well, we did that for a reason, but then it got lost. I mean, a great example is just like the mill. Like, let's go into, since we got a bunch of people on, the
mhm,
mill versus MOA kind of debate. Well, if you look at mills and go back in time and just think about, like, a mill is, you have like one mill has 10 tenths in it. Well, 100 yards has the 10 yards between it, right? So every 10 yards, and then you get to your 100. A tenth of a mil equaled a tenth of a yard. So if I had a 460-yard target, but I only had 400-yard dope, I can put 6 tenths to get the 60. Now, our bullets are a little faster and a little better today, but generally that's how it worked. It's 10 yards between, you adjust the tenth. Well, with MOA, it's 25, right? 25 yards to a minute. So if I have a 400-yard shot and it's a 450-yard target, I'm going to add 2 MOA because it's 4 MOA in between every 100 yards. So, you know what I mean? It's like there's these simplistic things to help us that have been lost in the mix, where somebody will say, hey, that's 585. I don't have dope for 585. Well, what do you got? I got 500 at 8 tenths. But nobody, it's like, we don't do that anymore. It's 580. It's 585. I don't have dope for 585. I'm MOA. Well, put 3 MOA on for 575 and you'll be close. You know what I mean? And that's how that went. So it's these things that our grandparents did that have been lost over time through the game of telephone.
mhm.
What's Windrider saying here? All my rings and bases are, yeah, totally tired of my neck hurting. Exactly.
Yeah. Right. And that's the other thing. We're talking about the result of input on one shot, but how many of us go to the range and take one shot and leave? We're doing things over and over and over and over again. And that has an effect on, imagine being like here and having somebody smack your side of your head when you're in this weird position. It's gonna,
Oh,
I can,
I am a walking, my neck and shoulders and arms. Like at night when I'm going to bed, it is like I'm broken. And I'll even turn around and be like, did you hear that? And she'll go, what? And I'm like, my neck, did you just hear me? And she's like, no, that's in your head. I'm like, how could you not hear that? It's so loud.
yeah, I got bolts in my neck too. And my neck's crooked and all that. Like, man, I don't need more of that stuff. But nevertheless, I still shoot like that to see if it has an effect and what is it that's touching that causes the effect, because I'm a nerd like that. I will go out of my way to shoot deliberately in different ways to see, does it shift my group? Does it have an effect? So that when you watch somebody, you go, they say, oh, check it out, my shot went here. Why did it happen? And I go, I don't know, but it's one of these 5 reasons probably. Let's eliminate each one of
Yeah.
those.
Yeah.
And you kind of hammer it down. But because we do those repetitions, I think that you know the effects of those rings though are profound on the results that people get, and we're talking about very small change
Yeah.
in
Well, a great
where your eye
example
goes.
is, everybody slams the scopes low. And I had a student, he's a repeat student. I would see him in the Northeast, and every year I'd come back, he'd take the class. Well, he had a Tika setup with a brand new Night Force. And as most know, we pull all the scopes off of everybody and we tall target test them. Guy has brand new Night Force and it's mounted low. His Tenebrix ring covers are barely like an eighth of an inch off the rail. And I'm like, man, I just don't like those. Those are too low. Those are too low, but they're fine. First year he shoots, everything's great, no problem. Second year he comes to class, or third year actually it was, we pull his scope and we tall target test. Now it's off. His scope doesn't track no more. And I go and look at it. You can see the bend in his tube. his bell was hitting so low on just a Teak Attack A1. His bell was hitting, he bent his scope tube because he was only that eighth of an inch over his tenebrex.
Dang.
And after 3 years of shooting, he screwed his scope up.
Yeah. That's
and that's the bitch with us, is this stuff doesn't happen immediately. It's not like first shot, you broke it. It's like over time. And it's just accumulating over time. I remember years ago, a rifles only class, LE department came, and by Tuesday afternoon, Wednesday morning, we had identified a broken scope. And the law enforcement officer is like, no way, I've had this, thing's great, everything's been good, no way it's not working and not coming back. I said, wait a minute. In your training and in your practice, think about how many rounds we just shot in these first 3 days versus you shooting in your everyday capacity as a law enforcement officer. How long would it take you to shoot this many rounds in your training prior to coming to this class? He does the math, 9 months. I said, how are you expecting to see that if you dragging this process out over 9 months? You'll never notice it. It's boiling the frog. It's like you're boiling it slow and it's too late now. So yeah, that's kind of what's going on, is that we tend to boil the frog really slow and you don't see it because very little of what we do breaks immediately.
Right.
And if it does, it's usually big.
Yeah, and a lot of this stuff is so expensive. Like you don't want to put that stuff at risk or in jeopardy, and then you don't want to find out after the fact that it was something like that.
Yeah, totally. So, I mean, that's why we harp on this stuff. I mean, at the end of the day, I'm trying to help the guys that haven't been to my class, because everybody who's been to my class, we see so much. We see such a huge variety of people. We're not seeing the rock stars of the industry every week. We're seeing a mix. There might be 1 or 2 rock stars that come, but then there's going to be 12 that are new, or, like 8 brand new, 4 intermediate, 4 rock star. And then when you start to put all that together, then you start to see things in a different way. And it goes beyond like a number on a score sheet at a match or something. It's telling a more complete picture versus like having this narrow piece of context. That's kind of where.
Yeah.
I like the chat is working.
Totally. It's kicking ass today.
Yeah.
So the length of pull question, I think, I'm always hesitant to say something better than something else. So shorter length of pull versus longer. But I could tell you, I got kids, and if I just take my rifle and have them shoot it, that be able to get to the where it's set up for me, they climb up over the rifle and lay down on the comb because they got to get closer. And a shorter length of pull, they wouldn't be as inclined to do that. Laying on the buttstock is not going to be good for anything unless you're shooting prone and it's an amazingly, solid rear bag. Getting up off of that into positions, those shots are, almost always going to end up going high. So when it comes to kids, having something that you're able to get shorter and then shooting positionally, it's that same thing. If you're used to shooting prone, so I guess, to make a short story longer, if you're only going to shoot prone, there might be a good reason to have a longer length of pull because you're laying down, and so that distance is longer, right? We're in this position, but as you get out of prone, it very quickly jump. It's not like a slow to standing. You got standing, and then kneeling is could be in here, and then seated. Your torso is still upright, so everything but prone, we're in this top 30 degrees. And then all of a sudden, whoosh, so we've basically taken about a 1-inch deviation between seated to standing, and we've added 3 or 4 inches to that length of pull prone. And so if you're going to shoot positionally, if 25% is prone and then 25% is seated, 25% is kneeling, and 25% is standing, I'm going to err on the side of short because 75% of my shots are going to require 3 inches less distance to be able to sandwich this up. So I want higher rings and I want shorter length of pull for me personally, but I would test it on paper. That's what I would do. But because longer length of pull, your arms are going to be out here doing
Mm-hmm.
stuff, and so you're going to have a really hard time keeping your sight picture. And also
The
that
scope,
that
that's what kicks you off to the side for a scope.
yeah, and so think about the the eye box of some of these scopes. I'm going to grab a scope. Right. So if I'm looking through this and I'm just going to hold it up here, but here is what this is the farthest it could be from my eye where I can see scope shadow. Now, if I'm going to go prone and I come up here, I got to pull my head back. And so that could have an effect, right? So I go from prone and then I stand up and all of a sudden that eye box for, and my guess is every scope that we're going to be looking through is different. But if I sit up perfectly straight here for the video and I'm at the rear part of that, and now I'm going to slide forward, and now I'm at the front of it. So that's the difference that I have to operate in, and my length of pull is going to have an effect on that, right? Because I'm standing, and depending on where my head goes. But then if I go prone, wow, it's way too far forward. So I got to pull it back. So you see people do these weird things. And I
Mm-hmm.
think Phil and Kalen talk about that with like, they have different terms for animals, like, sticking your head
Yeah,
like
prairie
forward and back.
dogging, and yeah,
And,
your gooseneck prairie dog. Blah, blah,
but
blah.
that's this relationship of height. I don't like being perfectly, completely straight. I kind of like leaning over a little bit because
A little aggressive.
as I transition up, I can maintain that consistency. But nevertheless, this isn't a lot of space to operate in, and
Mm-hmm.
that's going to be an effect if I'm going to put that rifle against my chest. Well, shit. As I go down, I'm going to have to pull my head back, and that's like a really weird problem to solve. But that's solved with keeping it higher. You don't have as much of a change, and keeping that length of pull a little bit shorter to make sure that in all those other positions they're pretty consistent. But when you drop to prone, you've just changed the whole conversation. And so that's a really hard. I think that's the hardest thing. So my guess is like if you stood up and set it, and then you lay down and set it, and you'd want to alternate between standing and prone and standing and prone to make sure that you could always operate in that zone of standing and prone. And it's a balance of height and length of pull with that box. And then
Mm-hmm.
where is that with respect to where it is on the rail of the rifle.
Well, I mean, that's what, if you think of David Tubb across the course kind of thing, uh, you know, his stocks and everything, the service rifle guys, it goes back to like service rifle, the sling rifle guys, they had an adjustment in a position for every single position they were in. They had a re-zero kind of factor for all those positions as well. So when you look at like a Tubb rifle, the Spectacular, it has all those markings and notches and adjustments because they were changing their position. Now, granted, they're slung and they're much, it's a lot more critical for them, but they're changing the rifle geometry for those positions. Now, we're not going to that detail, but we're also looking at the geometry of our body as it's attached to that rifle changes when we move position. So we're trying to find the average in the middle ground. That's why, like with the craft drill, I like to run that craft drill on paper and do some shots and see if I have an offset with that rifle. Is my standing and my prone off of each other? If they are, I'm going to nudge my zero a little bit, and then I want to move on. So if I know I'm going to be shooting positional across the course, my zero is slightly nudged, and it's the same thing we were going to talk about with bipods. The rings and everything we're talking about with scopes and rings now plays in with bipod as well. So what we're talking about, scope and ring, you would translate to bipod.
Mhm.
We don't want to get that low. We want to be up on our elbows. We want to be up in a comfortable, natural way that keeps our head up. So if you're laying down on your chest and you're flat, you're going to roll your head over. But if you come up on your elbows, then your head's going to be straight.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. I can think of myself doing it, but also just looking at people saying, "Man, I can't. I'm not comfortable. I can't quite see the target," or something. And you look, and they've got these short bipods
Yeah.
and in a rear bag, and they literally can't get their, especially some of the big chested guys, just they literally cannot get their
Well,
spine low enough to look through.
and think about this, right? If with those bigger guys, and what they'll argue is, I ran up and I shot off a prop, positional. Then I ran over and shot off a tripod, positional. Then I dropped my game changer on the ground, fell down on top of that super low bipod, mushed the stock into the game changer, laid on top of the rifle, cranked off 2 rounds on a 2 MOA plate, and scrambled away. And then they go, see, it works. It doesn't matter. But if you take them and say, okay, now do this and dope ourselves out for accuracy, their shit's going to be all over the place. They're not going to have a consistent result because their position is compromised. I understand compromise. I'm all about compromise. However, there's a time and place to compromise, and there's a place to not compromise.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking about not compromise place.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, you want to shoot from a place of confidence, not, if you you're shooting at a 2 MOA target, they're not going to be happy with a 2-inch group at 100. I guarantee it, right? So, and then you're talking about the ramifications of data downrange. It's just not good. But it's very, very common to see people just trying to get way too low, and to get low, you're always going to be forcing pressure down, or you just can't do it and it hurts your neck and back. But really, if you end up forcing it, you're forcing force down on the back of the rifle. And if that happens, more often than not, you're going to see deflection of that round up.
And that's where I showed you with that, where the different versions, like if you watch that person right in here, the way the rifle changes in recoil, it kind of sits and it doesn't recoil correctly.
Right. Yeah, right. Like rifles don't recoil down.
Yeah.
So, but I like how you described like the kid, like watching TV, like when you're going to set everything up, you can get yourself in the right position without a rifle at all.
We never taught our kids how to watch TV sitting on the Oh, there it goes. It came back. That was weird. Yeah, it's actually not like losing. There we go. Wait a minute. Hang on. So they're in the chat talking. So I went. In February, I'm not talking. We have to talk too. All right, so we're back on. Sorry, I don't know you podcast guys. It'd be interesting to see what you're gonna like be hearing, but the podcast people,
Right.
We're having the conversation. We're having fun in that. So
you were saying about just watching, like getting your body in a
right. So I was
position.
getting ready to talk about little kids. Right. So a little kid watching TV now, they don't watch TV like that anymore. They have computers and iPads. But if you see a little kid laying on their elbows, that's the position we want. We never had to teach a kid to do that. We didn't teach anybody to lay on the floor and be comfortable, right? Especially if you're in your 40s or 50s. That's all we did was lay on the floor and watch TV growing up. So it's very much it's the same situation.
Yeah, you could be there for as long as you need to, and you're not going to start shaking, and right. But so somebody gets in that position and then slides a rifle there. Chances are it's set up
Right.
too low, and then being able to set it up so that that's where it naturally comes into. You don't need to force it under. I mean, I could think of maybe a match where they would like force you to get extra low or sideways, but I think those kinds of contrived stages are disappearing, and they understand, you know, don't need to shoot an inch off the ground. Come up a little bit. So just having that comfortable setup and knowing this is where my bipods need to be for standard flat range, because it's going to change in natural terrain depending on the incline of the dirt that you're on, or
Well,
decline.
and you,
But
you brought that up the other day. You're talking about fixing heights, where you were saying with somebody, like, just slide their bipod back to change the height. They're like, my bipod's not tall enough. It's like, well, pull it in.
yeah, you're right. But that's one of those things that unless you've trained it or seen it more, it's like shit. To bring it up, you just pull it in. But then it also has to be in a place where you're behind the rifle and you can actually reach it.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes people are like, I can't reach it.
Yeah, my arms are short. I can't reach that stuff.
But if it's put in the spot where you can do that, or I mean, I personally, I think that it's not going to be long before some of the precision shooters have the service rifle adjustments or the biathlon adjustments where you're going to drop to prone and you just throw a switch on the way down.
Well, that's what the spur chassis is
And
supposed to do, right? Doesn't the spur make adjustments that quickly because of those? I think the spur chassis might do that.
it has like I haven't shot it.
No,
I've
me
held it
neither.
at mile high, and I've screwed around with it. And it has like a thing that you could pop out and slide. I do think that if people are going to expect ultimate precision from smaller and smaller targets under time, you're going to want to see that happen. And or what you see with the like, well, this is just my thoughts on this, is that the foundation stocks have a shorter length of pull. They're popular with, a segment of the PRS guys that are also top performers. And I think that they back off the scope so they don't have to deal with that connection as much. Some of them put their shoulders in there and they get in, but they're really managing recoil with their support arm on the scope. And that, because there's not much recoil, so they can manage it with their hand here, so that they've essentially removed the necessity to adjust that length of pull. And that's a solution that works, but it wouldn't work if we were competing with 300 Win Mags, right? You're not going to manage recoil the same way. Uh, just putting your hand on the scope.
Yeah.
Or I mean, shit, I did that at the Guardian with my Creedmoor, and I put my head sideways, and it freaking scope checked me.
Oh, that's right. You got nailed, didn't you?
Right.
Yeah.
So there's like a time and a place for certain types of recoil management, but I do think that you make it extra short, and now you can back off of it a little bit, but that's more of a hack, because there's not a mechanical adjustment, because that mechanical adjustment is going to give you more consistency in the long run, I think. And I think it's just a matter of time before we can actually set throw levers where when you're changing positions, you can instantly make that a part of your process to change. Like the biathletes that are going
Well,
from
I mean,
standing to prone.
it's all it's all about, like, the Olympic shooter. Think of the adjustability in Olympic rifle. It's all in the
Mhm.
back. It's all at their stock. It's all where their hand touches their trigger, touches the thing. Frank, I noticed your comments on the podcast about recoil causing hinge. Oh, total hinging. No, so questions coming in the chat about my AI butt stock upside down. No, being upside down has nothing to do with that. That's a feel for me knowing I'm straight. But no, the hinging is the rear bag. How you manage the rear bag is what will cause the hinge in the back.
You're talking about it like hinging?
Yeah,
like
the hinging under recoil with your rear bag in the butt stock.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I have a rear bag right here. But yeah, so basically the rifle's here, and how you have this, if it's like this, so guys come in like this with a rear bag and the rifle's like that. When they shoot, it'll do that. Same thing. It creates a hinge. So you need your rear bag to be manageable. So you're up here and you're holding the rifle, so you're not at angles creating hinges in recoil management.
Right.
That's where
And now my guess is some of you are probably listening like, well, it doesn't recoil 4 inches like this, but this arc he's exaggerating. What you need to keep in mind here is that I could be wrong, but I think it's 5 thousandths of an inch movement causes an inch movement downrange. 5 thousandths of an inch of this arc in height, that's not much of a hinge for it to cause vertical deflection in your group. So if you shoot paper and you're testing that and you've got a group that's vertical, it, that could be from it, because I don't think you can feel that. You would notice it on recoil that you've got that hinge that he's talking about. If it's here, it's going to move it up, and if it's here, it's going to move it down.
right.
And we're talking about minuscule movements in height at the butt pad to cause 100-yard deviation. That's not
If you
acceptable.
take it's like 11 thousandths or 11 hundredths. So if you subtract the 20 MOA base front from the back, it's like microscopic. It's 11 hundredths, 11 thousandths, whatever that number is. I'm not a fraction guy. Anyway, that 11 thousandths of an inch gives you 20 inches downrange. 11,000, right? So 2 decimal places, 11 hundredths, 2 decimal places, right? 11 hundredths of an inch is 20 MOA at 100 yards. So think about the thickness of a human here. And for Fisher's asking about measuring, like a good example, this is a Seekins 1.1 for height measured. Like you buy it, it's 1.1. You can't fit a Schmidt and Bender in this rings. I have pictures I've posted where the bell does not fit because these rings are too low. So basically, we're taking the manufacturer's height, the 1.1, 1.2, 1.3, 1.5, and we're just using those straight up numbers. We're not trying to exaggerate what the actual height over bore is. My height over bore that you're talking about measurement wise is 2.75, 2.8, but I'm using a 1.5 scope, that kind of thing. So that's where the numbers are coming from. Cool. Right.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, this is actually, guys are all in and rocking back when TV was 20 inches. Yeah. Right. This is totally rocking with this. Everything seems to be going other than the 2 little drops. But
yeah, and that video rolled in really well.
That video rolled in awesome. So we know we can keep doing those, and we can have topics and bring videos in with everybody. So we
could even comment while it's playing, right?
Oh, absolutely.
And say like, oh shit, somebody could send us a video and we could do
and
live
that's what the right
analysis.
Exactly. Somebody's coming in. Yeah, he's a 275 with a 1.5 mount. So yeah. When should I stop shooting something like a craft at 100 and practicing at distance is beneficial? As soon as you can. 600 if you got it.
When you want to.
Because then you're incorporating wind, right? So at some point, somebody's asking when they should go from 100 to distance. Well, when you're comfortable at 100 and you're watching the paper and all that, and you're removing those flyers that the paper's showing you, well, then now you want to go out to distance so you can have the wind effect. So that becomes a big part of it, is having that big old wind effect in there.
Yeah, I think the only thing that I'm going to kind of differ here on is that, yeah, I mean, you can't substitute wind at 100. You have to shoot distance, and you have to dope, and you have to. I mean, we shoot distance, so I think and I said this recently with Chad Heckler and I. We're like, we both like to shoot paper at 100, so you can do a lot. But so here's the thing: like, you need to have your acceptable accuracy, acceptable for your standards at 100 consistently before you do that. Otherwise, you're not gonna know why you missed, right? If let's say you're shooting craft drills, I don't know what your standards are or what your application is, but let's say, for example, you're an average shooter and you're shooting 4 inches. It at some point a 4 MOA target, you're going to be missing it, or let's say it's a 3 MOA target. That's bigger than most targets that we're going to be shooting at in
Yeah, yeah.
competition. So you're going to under perfect situation, you're going to still be missing it based on your 100-yard data, and now you've added environmental. So why did you really miss it at 600 to 800 to 1,000? There's no way to know. So you need to bring your acceptable accuracy to within the parameters that you can identify why you missed something downrange. So if you're a 3-inch shooter shooting at a 1 MOA plate, like, you're going to miss it a lot, even if you did everything absolutely perfect to your skill standards. So I would say match the distance with your acceptable accuracy at 100, and understand that if you're shooting at something that matches that at 100, you're going to be missing it at distance based on the addition of environmentals. And so I would say, you want to budget on target sizes that allow you to know why you missed it, cuz you don't want to work wind if there's a chance that you do everything right, you're still gonna miss, because then you're not gonna know if it was, how are
Well, I
you
mean,
working
for
wind?
range like that, for things that I look at, I would go to 300 yards then, because
Mhm.
then you're not getting the big wind miss. But 300 is going to open up your group significantly when you're shooting groups that could be a craft drill. So I look at 300 being um a, a yard line, like I have a word for it and I'm spacing it right now. The kind of like a important yard line. So 300, 600, 800 are my key yard lines, right? So I'd rather 1,000, yeah, absolutely, but 8 is fine for me. So 3, 6, 8, those are my kind of verified yard lines for things like that.
Mhm. I mean, it's a weird conversation here because most of you guys that are watching this live, and the people that come to a lot of these classes, they're not the average shooter, they're better than average.
Yes,
And so we're
absolutely.
talking about standards that a lot of people can't relate to, and we need to maintain that perspective of, man, if somebody's shooting 4 or 6 inches, we need to work closer to understand what variables are having an effect at close range. Somebody commented there, like, center to center. I don't measure things like that, personally. And what I think you mean, and I could be totally wrong, but the center. Let's say you're aiming at this aim point, and then you're looking at the center of the group. There's a distance, but the problem is, you're always aiming at that aim point, and so really it could be left or right, and so it's double point of aim to the center of the group in terms of your target size. There's different ways of measuring that stuff, but that tends to be the way that I think is from the center of your aim point, have a circle that fits those groups in, because that group is going to wander a little bit. And for a lot of shooters with higher repetition, which is why the craft drill has 12 shots, or when I do some of the training, I've got consistency shots where they'll do 16 or 9, and we look at that total aggregate, but we always consider what you're aiming at. And the reason is that for the types of precision shooting that we're doing, it doesn't matter how small your group is if it was 4 feet off the plate, right? We're trying to hit a designated object, and to understand what it takes to always hit that designated object, we need to put what we're aiming at as part of the measurement, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's just the way I think about it personally, because I want to hit that thing. If I miss it with a small group, somebody would take a picture of that small group and say, "Look how small my group was." But
That's
it's like, yeah,
awesome.
if you missed it, right? So, I don't want that to be the case. I want to know when I shoot at something, I'll hit it as long as I can flash, see how wide it is. I understand that my shots are going to fall within that size of a target, considering my aim point. Then I'm going to decide, should I shoot it or should I not shoot it? So that's the way I think about it personally. but there's no rules about that. I think bench press shooters, they shoot for group size, not aim, right? As far as I understand. And then F class people, they're trying to get the X ring, and so they are considering point of aim, but neither is better than the other. They're just totally different. Or a PRS shooter, they're trying to shoot, relatively to F class and bench rest. They're shooting bigger targets, but they're doing it faster and in a more dynamic scenario. And then hunters, and then sniper competitions and things. The target size might scale out from that, but the dynamic aspects of it increase. And as you increase away from that ultimate precision, we're always trying to actually hit something. So I don't know. That's my kind of rant about just seeing.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many different variables out there that we're all looking at, and why are we doing? I mean, at the end of the day, we want to increase consistency.
Mhm.
This is all about attacking consistency. What are we looking to do? It's guys on the podcast, man. It's nice. Everybody's chatting up over here. So I'm actually, while Chris has been talking, I've been in the chat box talking to everybody over there. We're talking 260s and 136 CNRs right now. So conversation changes all the time. But
I love those 136.
Oh, the 136 is the best 6.5 bullet. But I mean, that's where we're going with this, right? So what are we talking about? We're talking about giving people not necessarily shortcuts, but best practices without that trial and error that we always do, right? So we're always like, try a little of this, try a little of that. Which one's better? Okay, now I got a little of this and a little of that. And we're just going to cut to the chase. I think so. Somebody's asking about loading chats, loading images into the chat.
Oh, of the people that are,
yeah, the people talking, they want to put
us?
pictures in. Yeah, I think so. They're looking at to no.
That could get really
here
ugly
it is. This
really
chat
quick.
just messages. We could post a link. The people, they got it. Those people got it.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I don't want people posting
we hit the
pictures
1 hour on the podcast for you guys. I'm gonna kill the podcast people, and we'll go from there. But podcast guys, we are still live, and we're going from there. So thanks a lot for the podcast people.
Chat's
Get out of
going
here!
nuts today. It's awesome.
I'm gonna see how this sounds. We'll see what it's like. It should be pretty good.
Yeah. All right. Yeah, if you're gonna post pictures
That's
here
done.
for
So
us.
the podcast's over. We're out of that. Yeah. So guys.
A bunch of naked men or something like that are gonna happen.
These guys, I wouldn't trust them to allow to post pictures in the chat box. You'd probably get a bunch of dick pics or something, knowing these guys.
Yeah.
Especially, luckily we don't have any deer sniper or anything. He's not in here, so we don't have to worry about that. Is he still on the site, or did he leave? Any of you guys know the deer sniper still hanging around, or did he take off finally? They're not answering. No, but anyway, the video works really good.
Mm-hmm.
We know we can come into these scenes and I can drop video right in and I can add that in. So that's pretty awesome. I can even add in another video. I can leave you with, did you watch the Sacco video?
Not yet.
Let's put the Sacco video on. I'm going to put the Sacco video on for you guys so Chris can see it.
Heck yeah.
So I'm going to add a video. Here it is right here, TRG. Boom.
4 minutes, 56 seconds.
Add to scene. There we go. And then there we are.
Uh-oh.
Wait, it'll take a second. It'll come in. Let's see. There it is. So here's the video I shot for the Sacco TRG, and I'm shooting those 136 CNRs. But this is the nice thing with this live, that we're actually figuring out we could do neat shit like this. It needs a weight system that doesn't balance perfect on there, the TRG.
Hey, welcome to a Sniper Side Bullet Point video. In this episode, I want to talk about the Sacco TRG 22A1. This model is chambered in 6.5 Creedmoor, and we've been spending some time putting it through its paces.
See, like this edit,
I am
I'm not a big fan of, and that's what I'm talking about. It doesn't look the way I would want it to, but that was a limitation of that camera because of where the sun was. It's a lot more sensitive to the sunlight.
The green model, excellent shooter. I've held on to it for all these years, never got rid of it. Now we move into the 2020s, and we have the TRG A1.
Green gun.
Right? 6.5 Creedmoor instead of 308. Adjustable stock folder. 3-lug bolt. We like that, definitely. 2-stage trigger, fully adjustable. Goes anywhere from about 4 pounds to 2 pounds. A great feeling trigger. I don't even have a reason to adjust it. I like it right where it is. Like I said, adjustable folding stock with an adjustable grip system. Hands bigger, smaller, you can remove the back of the grip here and change this out. I currently have the smallest grip on to fit my rather small hands. As well, adjustability in the cheek, in the butt plate, push button adjustability to move it in and out like that. Again, push button here, push button there. This lets you adjust that. Super smooth bolt. This is one of the nicest feeling bolts on the market. This is what sold me on the TRG the first time I held one. I picked it up.
Yeah, that was
I
much
ran
way
the bolt,
easier.
That like
pressed the trigger. I bought
since
the
we were
rifle.
just talking about
was
it, you
that
just
easy.
were like,
oh yeah,
And
the
this
push
rifle
button. It's
does
push
not
button.
disappoint.
Totally easy.
Paired with a 30 MOA base. Now make sure you understand that's a 30 MOA base. You don't want to put a 20 on top of it to give you 50. So I'm using Badger direct rings with my Schmidt and Bender 3 to 20. So 30 MOA in that gives me plenty of elevation to go out. No problem there.
that would be freaking
As
awesome.
you have a plastic
Movie nights.
Boogie nights.
That's a toolkit. You have tools up.
We could bring in somebody
there,
else's video
which
and
is
just
then
tear them
attached
apart.
to your handguard. M-lock on the handguard gives you plenty of options, adjustability, accessories, upgrades. As you can see, I put a bullet.
Dude, that would actually be awesome. People just send us their video,
and we can
then,
work on it.
you know,
Yeah,
like
totally.
if they have the
photograph on the rail, no problem there. Hammer forged barrel, 5/8 24 threaded. Allows me to put my
you guys are watching
on
that
it.
device that's up on the floor end. That's the bullet
I
seeker we were
have
talking
a
about in
26-inch barrel,
the I think we talked about on the 20th with gadgets, one of those Doppler things that Bluetooth to Frank's phone and it gives him data for every shot, but that doesn't get in the way for a lot of things. So I think, you know, whether that's, you know, I know people have had issues with various devices, but the drive towards better data management and gadgets and stuff, like, man, that's pretty powerful. There's like a sound delay, and so I like
Yes, yeah, we got like a 30-second, yeah.
Really great
just
platform.
I heard steel hit, and I'm watching you talk.
If you want to go out, get a rifle, pair it with a nice bunch of ammunition, and get really great
like
results. Impress your friends.
I'm seeing the targets like
22 A1.
yards.
Big fans.
You know, it's funny, like just knowing which targets are which.
Yeah.
You know, like, shit. Yeah, man. 4-inch group at 900 factory ammo.
And then we gotta. Oh, I need to go in here to kill it again, I guess. So.
Man, I like that.
There we go.
Yeah, throwing that stuff in there is totally sick.
So there we are, and that's what we're looking to do.
Yeah, and the range, like I don't think there's been video out there to really show how we've maximized this giant fan left to right, and we have depth and range to take shots. Essentially, you know, you can find shots that are low wind because of the angle and full value wind on almost any day, because of that fan. We have about 100 I don't know.
It's 140. I measured
yeah.
it. It's 100. We have 140 degrees. We
degrees.
can't. We're not quite 180. We're 140.
But that's just, I mean, that's spectacular because you know,
Yeah,
regardless of the
yeah.
wind, and it's always a little bit windy. So
Always windy. Always. Even like when I was filming that, it was like really great day, and then we'd have like 15 minutes where it'd be like that 10 to 12, and then it dropped back down to like 4 to 6, and then it'd be like a little bit of 10 to 12, and then it'll drop back. So it was playing. The only bitch was when I was out trying to film, there was 4 like red and white crop dusters at the airport, and they kept coming over me and buzzing me super low. So if I take you downstairs and show you the raw video, you'll actually see their shadow and hear them overcoming my video because they were buzzing me every 20 minutes. They were doing a run and they kept coming by these 4 crop dusters.
yeah, man, I was seeing the crop dusters just like driving on 25 or driving out, whatever. Like those guys are nuts.
Those are Mustang. Those are World War II Mustang motors. And the U.S. Army just brought crop dusters exactly like those ones out at Fort Morgan that are loaded with bombs, like the World War or like the Vietnam Sandy. You know, like the they were picking people up, and in Vietnam they had the Sandy aircraft that were the close air support for the helicopters. They're doing a close air support now with a crop duster because it has a World War II Mustang motor in it.
Dude, that's nuts.
Yeah, they're fast as shit.
And they're so acrobatic. It's pretty entertaining. I always feel like I'm going to drive off the road.
When they want to be able to come into these like a field. They want to be able to drop into fields and bomb and attack shit and then come out. Gotcha. Fucking crazy.
I guess if you're going to have like drones that aren't that dynamic.
Although the drones
just drop in and I don't know, man. Those guys are nuts.
The drone shit in Ukraine is scary. It's like, and I don't know if you've seen like the CR2 guys have that new anarchist cookbook, the Light Fighter manuals, and they have the little drone shit in it now and how to drop drones on people. And that stuff's crazy. They show these drones kind of going over the Russian lines in the trenches. And then you just see a little like grenade fall. The dudes are like, spooky. Fuck. Yeah, I'm not a fan of these things. Yeah, the crop dusters. He's talking about the Rolls Royce. Whatever they had, I think the Rolls Royce were the Spitfires. I think we had an American motor in ours, and I don't know though. The Mustang might have a Rolls Royce, but the Spitfires did have a Rolls Royce for sure, and that was a badass airplane too.
Either way, it's freaking awesome to watch. It's kind of frightening. It's entertaining, and they get so low.
Merlin,
even knowing that they're there. You watch them come in and you're like, holy shit. And then you realize, like,
you're almost mad. Yeah.
Trying to watch backwards while you're driving. Like, that's freaking awesome.
Yeah. But no, I just saw on Soldier Systems, the Army just bought crop dusting fucking airplanes to bomb shit.
Man.
So it's crazy.
We'll learn how to fly.
So yeah,
go take a lesson.
Go take a lesson in a class, fly, fall out of airplanes, do all that stuff. Hey, you guys got any other? Since we're going in there in the chat group, guys, got any other questions? We just wanted to see how that other part worked, but man, that worked out really well.
Yeah.
Now we're talking airplanes, we're chatting, and we're just kind of going on. I'm digging. We got a ton of people in the lives now. We got people interacting. It's been pretty good today.
Yeah, it's kicking ass.
Yeah. Make sure you guys go and follow and hit the follow for this, and so is that what that thing is? Is this the Playist PC21? Is that the new Army thing? I don't know what it's called. I just know they bought crop dusters. Yeah, that's it. So yeah, they're replacing an A10 with a super. But it is right. Am I right? Are you guys correct? Isn't it just like a crop dusting airplane that has a ton of fucking weapons on it? I remember the OV-10s. The OV-10s suck. Marine Corps had OV-10s everywhere. Those things were lame. With their Zuni rockets, they used to do that. They used to do the smoke rockets with us for call for fire. So the OV-10 would come in and just send smoke like little things. It was lame. Friggin' OV-10s. They were terrible. I need Danny Glover to fly the OV-10. But cool, man. What else you got? Anything? I don't know. That was pretty cool.
I think, yeah, I mean,
I gotta listen to the podcasty one to see how that sounds, but I don't know. I think the system we're finally getting a hold of it. All I gotta remember is to mute shit so we don't get that feedback loop through our heads. Once we mute it, though, it seems like it works really well for us.
Totally.
And then being able to throw videos in now and talk about videos and show people. How did you guys like the videos? Can you see in the chat there? Let's see where the
yeah. I mean, once we kind of rewatch this and renegotiate it, like in a couple days, we could do another one with. We plan what the videos are going to be, and structure it a little bit better with people in here for alerts. I think, getting closer to freaking awesome. I mean, it's already pretty awesome.
Yeah, see, these guys like it, man. They're all digging all that. So for the guys listening, if we did like, hey, we're going to do a video and then talk about a video, or down the future, we can let you guys send us videos. And yeah, other than the drop a little bit, but that's no good resolution in audio. Yeah, you guys are digging it. Cool, man.
We could even like pre-do a video here, and then when we do a live at the range, be able to say, hey, look, we're going to talk and do the reverse.
Yes,
like here we're shooting live with
a video
these cues of the video, and we could do the video. We could play it over and over again, and then shoot live drills with pre-recorded drills or
that
exercises.
That is the next. Like we literally have to go to the range with my laptop, and I literally have to see how the connection through the phone to the laptop works. And then I got to bring the iPad because I may be able to do it seamlessly better with the iPad because my iPad has cellular and the camera. So it may be a case where we run the live at the range through the iPad. But I think this week we'll bring my laptop and the iPad out and we'll give it a try. This
is a good idea for everything, but could you do 2 lives from different angles of the same shot?
Yeah, we should be able to add speaker. We would be like adding a second person.
So you got recoil management from the rear and from the side, and a target.
The only thing would be bandwidth. Make sure we had enough bandwidth to run too.
And then we could throw things at the crop dusters.
We need Starlink. Yeah, it's not my range. Otherwise, if I had Starlink, I guess I could be portable with it. But yes, we do need Starlink. That would be the fix. I mean, we have decent service with AT&T and my phone, so I think I should be able to get it through the cellular and be okay. It may not be the greatest quality, but but
yeah, I mean, let's grab some more videos so that we do this in a couple days. We'll go through another.
Well, that's what I've been. What you were seeing today, like in the Vimeo, I started adding older videos, and that one we played, I added today. And because it's seamless that way, I'm just gonna start adding all these videos to my Vimeo account, all my old ones, because I keep them. They're not gone. They're on them drives in that cabinet. So I'm gonna just start uploading a bunch of old videos to Vimeo, so we have access to them.
When you pull up that menu, it's we could be like, oh shit, that's this.
Yeah,
and then bang, there's the thing.
And that's what I mean.
That's perfect.
It gives us all access to all the videos. So we'll be able to do a training lesson on here and then talk about it and all that. Portable Starlink. Oh, that might not be that might be good. Portable Starlink. But yeah, I mean, something that, who knows, we'll see, but we'll get it to work. Everything's going to be good, and I'm digging on it. And
I mean, it keeps getting better.
Yeah, it really does keep getting better. I mean, it's really, really, really good. See, I can't hear anything now there, so that's good. Boom, boom, boom. No, it does keep getting better and better and better. So.
All right.
Cool, man. All right, guys, we're going to take off and we're going to be out of here. Catch us on the podcast. Catch us in that. If you got questions, we can probably start a live stream Q&A question area. But Chris and I are going to take off right now and deal with that. But we'll be back soon, and you'll see you soon. Thanks a lot, guys. Let me kill this guy and stream.
Yeah, that worked good.
And